All right. Good morning, everyone. I welcome you to the Wednesday, February 11th, 2026 City of Tumwater General Government Committee meeting. And with us, we have Council Member Joan Cathy, Council Member Brandon Whedon, our newest member. We welcome you to the team, and myself, Council Member Eileen Swarthout. And our first order of business is to approve the minutes for the General Government Committee meeting from January 14th, 2026. Motion to approve?
So move.
Okay, do a
Second.
Okay. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay. The minutes approved, and so the next order of business is the selection of the committee chair.
I'd like to nominate Eileen Swarthout.
I'll second that.
Okay. We have a motion to approve Eileen Swarthout for committee chair. All those in favor say aye.
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 All right, thanks, guys. I appreciate that. All right, and the second order of business is we're going to talk about on that one is to decide about the time. We've talked about moving it from 8 a.m. to 11 a.m. And so we've got staff here as well, and Kelly's here. Yay, I see Kelly's on as well. So is that we've talked about that? I know Public Works has moved to 11 as well. Is that in the olden days? Remember, John? I think it was at 11. So does that work for everybody to move it to 11? And we got a shaking head from Sharon. Yes, I
Yeah,
know
that works for
everybody
me.
else. Where's Brad? Where's let's see. Where's Erica? Come on, you guys. We have shaking heads from other staff. Okay, Paul's got a shaking head. Oh, it got thumbs up. Okay.
No. If,
Oh,
if
where's
Paul
Brad?
says it works, it will work. So
Does
Okay.
it work for you,
Okay.
Brad?
Does that work for you, Brad?
it will work for me.
Okay, cool.
What about
All right,
Brandon?
'cause you guys are the ones that you want to make sure it works for you guys. So for sure. So we will do what you need to do as well. So, all right. Do we need a motion to approve the meeting moving from 8 a.m.?
That would be great.
Okay. All right. So do we have a motion to move the general government meetings from 8 a.m. to 11 a.m. on the second Wednesday of the month?
I will gladly do that.
Second.
Gladly do that. Brandon, is that okay for you? And
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah, right. Yeah, for business.
Yep.
Yeah. Okay. All right. All those, we have a motion to move the
Second.
meeting from 8 a.m. Okay. All those in favor say aye.
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 All right. Super. All right. Two big orders, big things taken care of this morning. So now let's go on to, we have our first order of business to real business now will be the preliminary docket for 2026 comprehensive plan text amendments. All right. Take it away,
I'm
Sharon.
going to share the screen. And do you see the comprehensive plan PowerPoint? I never know which screen is showing.
No.
No?
Correct.
You do see that. Okay. Okay, let me try to make it larger. Just a second. Just a minute, little technical. How do I make this? Oh, I made it go away. Sorry. Pardon me. Can you help me? This is the wrong one. It's this one. Nope, it's pulling the wrong one. I'm sorry, just a moment. Let me do you want to pull it up on your screen? PowerPoint. Hold on, it's not popping up. It's the wrong. It's this
I have total sympathy.
Yeah.
this one. Oh, that's okay. I was looking for it at the bottom. All right, how about now? Let's see. Okay. Okay. Hopefully you see that. Do you see the comprehensive plan amendment docket PowerPoint?
Yeah, we do.
Okay, my apology. So as you know, we plan under the Growth Management Act, and we are allowed to update our comp plan only once per year We just did a major comprehensive plan update, but we have two more chapters, the economic development chapter and the parks, recreation, open space. And we also have the joint plan update with Thurston County. So these are all comprehensive plan amendments that we're taking on this year. We had no public requests to amend the comprehensive plan. It's just the city-sponsored text amendments to these three. And these are already in the approved work plan for long-range planning. And so this is just a formal process that we have to go through to request a council to adopt these, to go through the process. It's called a preliminary docket. This allows the staff to go ahead and make these changes, and then we'll bring them back to you in the winter. The economic development plan and the PROS plan will come back to you for adoption. So we're here on the February 11th. We're asking you to put this on the consent calendar for the council's February 17th. And then we'll come back for the adoption process in the winter. Pretty straightforward process. Does anybody have any questions or concerns?
Do we always put it on consent?
If you can put it on consideration if you wanted to. We do put it on consent because you have previously approved this in our work plan.
I don't know if Brendan's got any questions.
I do not.
Okay, so I do. This one's different than because we're not redoing our whole economic development plan that we've done in the past. This isn't like the big one, right?
This is they are redoing the the entire element or the chapter.
Because we've done like a big one before that we had a consultant do. So this is going to be staff driven. It's not a consultant driven one.
This is largely staff driven. I know that
Okay.
Gene is looking into whether he does need any resources to support consultant resources to support him, but he believes this is mostly staff driven. There may be some surveys involved, but yeah, it is an update of the element.
Okay. And same thing with parks.
Same thing with parks. That was last updated in 2008, and they did a minor amendment in 2016. That
Right.
chapter is out of compliance with GMA, and the city's not able to apply for state grants, and so that one
Right.
has some that one needs to be
Okay.
updated.
Okay. And so that one will be you guys too working on that one as well? Or you bringing
We're
anybody?
supporting economic development and Parks does have a consultant. They have consultant funds set aside for
On
that.
that. Okay. See, I haven't been part of.
And the
I should
economic
know.
development was last updated in 2019, correct?
2019. Yes, thank you.
And then-
Amended. Yes, it wasn't a
Yeah.
major update. It was there were some amendments made to it.
Amendments to it.
Yeah.
Okay.
And Thurston County is like, okay. All right. Okay. All right. Just wanted to bring myself up to speed on that one. I remember that again, economic development was a big lift, and then parks has always been kind of interesting. Okay. All right. Okay. So we do have an action before us then to let me bring it up here. Sorry, guys. The recommended action is to review the Planning Commission recommendation and place the 2026 preliminary docket of comprehensive plan text amendments on the City Council consent calendar for the February 17th, 2026 meeting. Are we in agreement? Motion to approve the recommendation?
So move.
So, second.
Okay. All those in favor say aye.
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 Aye. All right. Okay. Excellent. So we'll move on to our next item on the agenda. Scrolling back here. So the next one is the Emergency Transitional and Permanent Supportive Housing Feasibility Study, Council direction on RFP scope, objectives, and framing
Let's
questions.
see if it's sharing. Okay, that's me again. Is it sharing? Okay. Okay, one more item here. So this was an approved item in our the long range planning work program, and it was just a title. And so we needed to come back to ask some more questions about the scope and the focus and what questions there's funding available to hire a consultant. So there's several different directions and ways we could go with this. So we framed out some questions, and then you can pick and choose from these questions. You can add additional questions and tell us to go in a different direction. Um, so let me kind of frame this a bit. So in the adopted housing element in the comp plan that was just approved, the city committed to providing 184 emergency housing beds and 723 permanent supportive housing units over a 20-year period. The comp plan established the policy direction. State and federal funding is uncertain, and we are a smaller city in next to a larger area. Olympia is drawing a lot of the resources. We do participate in the Regional Housing Council and pay proportionate share into that. But the question is, are the needs of our citizens being met? Are there other things that we could be doing in our community? So we are proposing that the feasibility study could provide decision-ready information to translate some of those adopted policies into implementable actions, identify participation models that small cities like Tumwater can start participating in the next 3 to 5 years. And so we could ask a consultant to develop a limited set of feasible implementation scenarios with a cost, risk, and benefit comparison. Identify some decision points to help evaluate which options is best for us and sequence them for some near-term actions. It could quickly help, but the study would have a quick overview of the regional system, look at what comparable sized jurisdictions are doing, look at facility scale ranges, look at some funding pathway options, and then develop a roadmap for us. So I came up with some draft questions to look at and to play with and consider in these categories. What are some near-term actions we could take? What is our implementation readiness? What facilities and siting questions would we need to ask? What questions would we need to ask about funding and risk? And then a decision framework to evaluate which pathway to go down. So the next slides are going to be a series of the questions to start to ponder. And again, these are just throwing them out so that you can rip them apart and say, that's not what we want to ask. We want to go a different direction, or yes, we like these questions, and you can kind of put together a mix. There's also a staff report that goes along with this. So if the screen is going too fast, they are in the staff report as well. So these are some framing questions for near-term actions. Like, what actions could Tumwater realistically pursue in 3 to 5 years, and which actions best support identified housing needs? What's our implementation readiness? What prerequisites are needed? What staffing and government capacity would be needed? What partnerships would be needed? For facilities and siting, it could be what facility types and scale ranges are realistic? What criteria should we use to site facilities? What zoning or incentives could support projects? What infrastructure or regulatory constraints affect feasibility? There's a series of questions about funding and risk, about funding pathways. How could multiple funding sources be stacked or combined to support projects? What level of ongoing financial commitment would that entail? What risks would the city assume under various scenarios? And what equity considerations should be evaluated when siting facilities? And then there's a section of questions about the decision framework. What decision points should be established before implementation? What conditions would trigger adjustments or pausing? And what performance measures would be used to evaluate different options? So if once we get the framing questions and the scope, we would put together a request for proposal, look for a consultant, and then conduct a feasibility study in spring, summer, and then return to council with findings and recommendations with those scenarios and pathways. And that's all I have. And I'd just like to open up for discussion about the scope and the framing questions that you would like to take this.
So is this about housing in general, or is this a specific kind of housing?
Specific kind of housing. It's looking at emergency beds, transitional. So emergency beds are getting people off the street overnight, very short term. Transitional housing is temporary housing, usually a 2 to 3 year term. And then the permanent supportive housing would be long term. It's possibly less than market rate, but longer term. So it's about it's sort of it's a ladder or a pathway.
Have we ever had this before? Are we reestablishing anything, or are we starting from scratch?
Brad could speak to that. As my understanding, we have not done a study like this before.
Excuse me, Joe. Sharon is correct. This is something that we have, the council has indicated is a priority as part of the work that it started with 2018, but we have not necessarily done a very specific, what do we actually need for our community kind of review. So this would be new as part of that.
And then to be clear, we're looking at 184 emergency housing beds. Like this is our goal in the next 5 years, 184 emergency housing beds and then 723 permanent supporting units.
My understanding is this is over a 20-year period. This was the Thurston County, the
Oh, okay. I was just
TRPC.
reading on here was identify actions achievable in the next 3 to
Yeah,
5
what can we,
years.
yes, what can we do? So this is our portion over the next 20 years.
20 years.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
It's also part of our state allocation of what we need to accommodate. And we put the 5 years in, so we have a working goal. So it's not way out in the future because we know this will take time. But 5 years seem to be an appropriate time frame to be looking at first.
Is there a numbers that we need to complete in the next 3 to 5 years, or are we just
No, it's not divided like we didn't divide these numbers by 5 and say, oh, we need 20 beds in 5 years. This is just a 20-year
okay?
goal, but actions that we need to take are incremental.
Gotcha. And then currently, what is our capacity right now?
We don't have an emergency housing program right now.
Gotcha.
Because right now, the funding that we do receive, we participate, correct? Joan, in the Regional Housing Council, the money that we do receive goes into the regional pot of money. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay. Because it's a regional goal that that we have housing that we build for, as far as like in the county that goes. It's not specifically in any jurisdiction at this point. Is that correct?
What's not?
I have not been part of the housing part, so as much as you're the resident expert on the emergency housing.
It's generally been a regional goal, and it's one thing the Regional Housing Council and Councilmember Kathy can correct me on this. There's been a couple approaches that have been taken on the regional level to try to address this need. One is obviously the pooling of money, and then we allocate them to areas that are most likely, from the efficiency and the standpoint, would be appropriate. So that, and also in part because the Olympia is a lot more staffed up when it comes to housing and pursuing active grants and so forth, and that kind of thing. The flip side of the discussion is there's always been an understanding that this is a regional issue, not necessarily a City of Olympia issue. And one of the things that we have been trying to do is identify those things that would support our residents as well. In addition to obviously looking at efficiencies and other things when we look at the regional side.
Okay. So a study like this would identify how many residents that we do currently have, as far as doing a count, as far as how many residents that we need to house them, potentially.
It will be drawing on that information, typically from the point of time count and other things. But it's also really kind of forward looking because we do have to do state reporting about how we're making progress towards achieving these particular requirements from the state. So
Mhm.
Brad, I can't remember when of course, the county, we do by our city, but as far as how many people identify from Tumwater that are staying in some of the other places that are in Olympia, do they give us a count of how many are from Tumwater in various housing situations?
it depends on the information that's collected as part of the point in time count. In some cases, we get that information. In a lot of cases, we don't. So it's not a perfect system in knowing exactly the number of Tumwater citizens or folks who originated in Tumwater that are being served elsewhere.
Hmm. As I remember way back when we had to give the city a report of how many Tumwater citizens we served at the other bank, at the YWCA. And I'm just wondering, we don't have, you know, other places that are housing beds or housing, giving us a report directly from themselves?
No,
No? Okay.
I wonder if we did that too when we did, like when we do the CDBG money or something, when we're trying to assess how many. I think I remember like when we did that for the shelter down in Olympia, just how many we asked how many residents, even because the facility was sited in Olympia, how many residents from Tumwater were being served, that we asked for that information.
yeah, I think you're on the right track, and that would probably be something that we would try to cover as part of this study. Reaching out to the facilities in Olympia and trying to get a general range. Obviously, their populations vary according to the time of year and so forth, but that's something we would have to seek rather than have available right now.
Right.
And then currently there's no budget for this, correct? That we're just going to start the request for proposals and move forward? Or do we have a
We,
set budget
yeah,
already for spending?
we
And
have a budget that was approved by the council for this particular item. And so the study is within the framework of that. Any actions that come out of the study, that would be a further discussion on the council in terms of budget allocation and direction.
okay,
Okay. So we are currently budgeted for a consultant on this. Okay.
Correct.
Correct.
Okay.
well, action item A, I guess, makes complete sense to me because that seems like our goal is to the need for the 184 emergency housing beds and then the 723 units. Like that's the overall goal. So moving forward, I think that needs to be in our plan and then I think a lot of it will all come down to our funding too. How much we can actually get from grants and what is realistic and then move forward.
The actions, what actions should Tumwater realistically pursue in 3 to 5 years, as far as hopefully that would be answered by a consultant, perhaps.
Correct.
Yeah.
I think what they're asking for is that they need us to determine the questions that we want to go ahead and ask
Right.
the consultants, how we want to direct the consultants moving forward on the study.
Right.
Oh, yeah, correct. Or prioritize them in case we get into negotiations and we have to drop some off. So
I think this is going to be a difficult time to get something that makes us feel really positive because this is not a high priority for granting right now if we're dealing with government things
Yeah.
but
yeah, that's
just have to be realistic, I guess. I'm not trying to
I do.
Yeah.
If I could add too,
Mhm.
just one thing, I think doing this work is what positions us for future grants. And
Right.
so this is really foundational work that if we can get the plan underway, you know, perhaps in 2, 3, 4 years, we're in a different grant climate with the federal agency and other funders of this sort of thing. So I think it's actually a really good time to get some of this foundational work in place and really understand what our needs are, what our goals, and where we should be heading. So I just kind of wanted to highlight, the amount of time this
You're cutting out again.
it could be timely to get going now.
I see the implementation questions being important as far as like right now, the facilities pieces will be answered. The funding piece is the part that is hard to, yeah, like Joan just said, what funding pathways are realistically available in the near future. That's going to be, would that be a consultant thing? That's going to be hard to estimate.
And kind of track when,
Mhm.
if the winds change on it.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely multiple funding sources are going to be needed. Ongoing financial commitment, yes. Yes, there'll be risks. And yes, we do want it. No, equity considerations should be evaluated, yes. So. I don't know if that puts it in order for you, Sharon. So.
Well, I
Do you
guess
want,
what is our
yeah, yeah.
top priority? It's going to be our funding
Yeah.
and risk. It sounds like both of you are, with the state of where we're at and everything with federal government, it would be a good idea to go ahead and figure out our money first and foremost and see what pathways are available and what is realistic and where the city of Tumwater can move. Is that correct?
Yeah, I think, near actions funding or more, or as far as like rating, as far as near action, you want to put rating those first as far as like in groups.
Or maybe the categories.
Yeah.
Where's my category? Do you want to see the questions or just the categories, the 5 focus areas?
Yeah.
I think if you can just show the 5 focus areas.
Yeah, these are the 5 focus areas. Do you see that slide?
Number 3 to me seems important for that's not a just go out and find the siting place in the facility, and doesn't it?
Well, it could be, it could be creative thinking as well. Asking a consultant to say, all right, hypothetically, if we were to buy a building like this, say we bought this hotel, how much would it cost? How will we fund that? How will we build that into the capital facilities plan? What would be the long-term cost of operating a facility like that? How would you attract a nonprofit or a service provider to manage that? Like, what would the cost for a hypothetical? So you could kind of see, well, that's one pathway. And then but another pathway could be, well, you cobble together some other funding sources, you just contribute money to the regional system, so you're paying more money into the regional system, but the housing is provided somewhere else. Like I'm just throwing out some ideas when we talk about facilities and the things that a consultant could look at.
Yeah.
What would the near-term cost be? What would the financial commitment be over time?
Yeah, me being a numbers person, I'm just concerned. I think the funding and the risk part is like, can we afford to do this? Is the biggest piece of it. If it's even, which is actually then tied into, are we even ready to do this? What are the, that's like number one. Are we even ready to do this? So, because that's all tied into money. I mean, it really is tied into money and staffing and all that. So, what it's going to require to even do something like this. So, which is implementation readiness. So, those are all really rolled in together. So,
and then it could be incremental. I mean, you don't have to deal with 180, what is it? 184 beds all at once. It could be, how do you take a bite? How do you eat an elephant? You take a bite at a time. So maybe over 20 years, it's like, okay, in the first 5 years, we're going to, here's a funding pathway that results in 20 units, and then
Mhm.
the consultant could map something out like that. How could it grow incrementally?
Mhm.
Yeah.
Correct.
Yeah. And then at least you feel like you've made some chipped away at having a goal that you feel
And
successful,
learn
at least
and
chipping
yeah,
away at it. Yeah.
and learn
Yeah.
things as you go. So a
Yeah.
consultant could map out a pathway like that. How do we
Hmm.
incrementally
Yeah.
work towards this?
Yeah. That's true. That's, yeah.
That sounds more reasonable since we have
Hmm.
other projects on our pathway.
Hmm.
Yeah.
So then I think we're all comfortable with our funding and risk being R1 and then facilities and sightings
And do it in
going through.
increments, like
Yeah.
incremental
Yeah.
Yeah.
siting and incrementally.
Yeah.
There's also a decision where you could say, do you want to focus more on emergency housing beds or the midterm transitional housing, which is like a 2 to 3 year,
Hmm.
or supportive housing? Is there any? I didn't frame out those questions, but that
Yeah.
just occurred to me that you could have a focus there.
And then I defer to Joan. Yeah. Because sometimes I worry about like when we have the cold, the cold and the heat type of events that we have happening.
Yeah, those are temporary.
Right.
Um, I don't know, we've talked at RHC, if you're going to start putting some, this was a conversation a while back. You're thinking about putting the things that need the least, so to speak, staffing,
Hmm.
or, like staffing for a winter
Hmm.
project is different maybe than what you staff in the summer.
Right.
Because people are going to be referring people to us once we have whatever set up. So we need to decide how to move into it
Hmm.
without taking the biggest chunk, or open the biggest possibility. And I would, uh,
You could ask a consultant to help you analyze what's the biggest bang for your
yeah,
investment. Would it be to, um, you know, incrementally build out the transitional housing?
yeah.
Make an investment and refer emergency housing beds to Olympia, but then we build out permanent supportive housing over time.
Mhm.
That's two people living there 2 to 3 years. That's less staffing.
Hmm.
Hmm.
It's more investment in infrastructure and maintenance.
Right. So I
And it
know,
can,
like,
Or we
yeah.
get ourselves also more acquainted with what is available and what our
Right.
jurisdictions doing, because
Correct. Yeah.
we need to know clearly where to um, recommend where to
Hmm.
send people, because we'll never be able to do it all anyway. So
Right.
how
Yeah.
how are others? Where are others in this process as this
Hmm.
continues to grow?
Hmm.
And then we might know better how to
yep.
what to fill uh, and what to use that
Let's
others
see.
have.
Yeah.
And then I don't know, I guess my concerns are the daily life, right? Right now, if we look at other cities, they have not enough emergency shelters, but they've kind of built the idea that they can solve the problem, and yet we have nowhere to move them into transitional housing. So for me, I would like to actually work, like make it hurt once, try to get as much funding as we can to actually have transitional housing to get people off of the streets. Um, so that's where I would be, is that we need an end goal. Obviously, we aren't going to have the money to solve all the world's problems, but if we can get people into the temporary housing so that they can get back on track and be more functional and, you know, in their lives, and be able to fix some of the problems that anybody is going through that is facing the houselessness. I think that's the steps that we should be looking at taking.
So we would bring people in and get them ready to go back out kind of thing? Or while they're, or help find them a more stable place to stay?
Correct. Looking at
Right.
the longer term, the 2 to 3 years, in order to give them access to mental health or addiction services, trying to get them into job training and everything so that they can actually be a functional. And there is those people that just need 1 night, 2 nights, 3 nights where they just don't have enough funding. Um, I just don't know where to actually start. Like you said, we're taking one bite of the elephant at a time. So moving forward, I think we're all in what I'm hearing is that the three of us are all numbers people. So we would like to
Mhm.
figure out what is actually available, what is realistic for us,
Yeah.
what kind of financial help we can get from grants and working with our partnership. So that's
Yeah.
where I would be, is that we go ahead and look at what money we can get, what grants we can get moving forward, and then go ahead and look at the implementation and readiness or the facilities. And
Yeah,
so,
what best really serves the best serves the people that we have right now, rather than just because I'm with you. I just the model that when they have something during the day, they don't have anywhere to go during the daytime, and so you give them a
correct.
place in the evening, and then they don't have anywhere to go during the day, and just that doesn't meet that need, and so the housing piece of it is, I hear you
The
saying
never
is
ending cycle of, oh, we,
right.
we solved your problem for 1 night. You
Yeah,
got either cooled down or you were heated
right.
up.
Yeah,
We give you a little bit of a meal and now go.
yeah, yeah,
Where are they going to go? There's
yeah,
nowhere.
yeah.
Like, so
Yeah, I hear you on that one. So,
yeah, I'm definitely a fan of making it hurt once and just trying to get as many people as much help as possible. And I don't, you're not going to solve that overnight. It is a long term changing habits and figuring out job skills and mental health and teaching them the skills that they're going to need to be more functional on their own.
That's where I think that we need to find out what is going on already. Is anybody doing that? How are they doing it? How difficult is it? I think we need to have the consultant or somewhere along the line that
right.
we know what is going on in this county and who's doing it and who's serving the most people and doing the best job. And then we can learn how to set our thing up to fill a hole or to participate or to partner with what's going on.
Correct.
Correct. Yeah.
And or we see a niche and we start a new thing that is going to take care of an old problem. But we
Yeah.
don't really know all of we just lean on the same things over and over when we talk about it.
Because
Com-
we don't have all
Commissioner,
the.
if I may ask, would you, in addition to finding out what's already going on in the county, what's working well, what lessons learned, do you want the consultant to also look at outside and look at what other jurisdictions are doing that might be successful or might be something that we could consider?
You mean outside of Thurston County?
Yeah, just across the nation, looking at smaller jurisdictions our size. Is anybody doing something innovative that could work here to address transitional housing, for example? How they're funding it, or is there any other creative solutions that we haven't looked at in the county?
Some of the people who are doing it know some of those answers. The people that are in Thurston County and have been here for a while trying to do this, they know pieces that they copied from other places or got some, consulting with them. So there's a group of folks here trying to do things, and they know what's going on in Tacoma or, it's just it's big, it's broad, it's got lots of different layers to it. So that's another thing as we look into it. What is the thing that Tumwater needs the most?
Right.
not, we've had a tendency to look, what is the whole county, what's the county need and where do we fit that? And I'm thinking maybe we need to look at what's Tumwater's greatest need and how do we work on that? Or where are some of Tumwater's people and how do we partner with that group that meets
Right.
there?
Mhm.
Those
Right.
would be some good answers to know when we embark upon this or expand
And I think
it.
it circles back to the fact that we do have we have that housing need in front of us, that we've got a goal in front of us, for the next 20 years as far as the emergency housing and the supportive housing. So that's where we start as far as like looking at our Tumwater goal and dialing it into how many, how do we serve Tumwater as well. So I think that
No,
that hopefully have that'll be the goal of our consultant as well.
Correct. And then I also know that we do already have, what was it, Olympia Housing? It was before I was on council, but I was listening to the public health and safety, and they had a housing that they brought in, and they were talking about a couple of different areas in Tumwater that already have some individuals that are currently homeless too. So maybe reaching out to them and seeing exactly. I didn't think the number was very high. I thought that at the time, don't quote me, but it was like 8, 9 individuals that they were trying to find
Mhm.
temporary and then move them into permanent supportive housing. So that could be something we can look into as well, for them maybe tying it into the public health and safety and seeing exactly where we're at.
Yeah, we have the study coming up. Usually they do the time, Brad. When's the time? I can't think of the name of the study. The
Point in time
and
count.
point in time. Isn't
It's
it done in January or was it already
Well,
done?
it was actually completed at the very end of January, and it was a week-long
That's what I thought.
process that ran into the first week of February. So they literally just finished.
They finished.
As
Okay. Did we have people in Tumwater? I mean, did we have people like people counting in Tumwater this time or?
Yeah,
yeah,
as part of the larger effort, there was a couple organizations that were brought on to do the count
Okay.
within Tumwater. And then as also part of that reporting, we have been, in the past, the police have provided, say, a count of folks who were in cars versus, in camps. And then we've identified areas where the most likely to look as part of that process.
Okay. Have they done that in the past as far as because usually we always thought the police were our best. They're the ones that know the best of where
Yeah,
our
in the,
most are.
past, in the past, and I want to say, I don't want to say olden days, we would just give the police a large paper map and tell them to update the map on where they think the locations are. What has actually occurred since then is we now have we have a web application that tracks all that, also tracks past locations on city property and so forth. So it's a little more robust than it had been in the past.
Okay. So I wasn't sure, like in the point in time that you weren't allowed to count them unless they wanted to be counted. So I wasn't sure how accurate you could count them if they
Yeah,
didn't want to be counted. So
the point in time count has some particular requirements from the federal government, and you're correct. There needs to be, authorization to be counted and so forth. So there was a general feeling that there was likely an undercount, not merely the fact that we know there are folks that weren't found at the time of the count, but also the fact that there are people who did not want to respond as part of that. So we've always sort of included a factor of additional number that are sort of out above and beyond the point in time count.
Okay. Good to know. All right. Okay. All right. Well, circling back on what we have in front of us, Sharon, what do you think? How do
Well,
you feel
yeah,
as far as
I'm hearing it.
information that we have now? Yeah. What do
I'm
you
what
think?
Let me reflect back what I'm hearing of an
Okay.
emphasis on finding out what's going on in the county, but also looking for what does Tumwater need, not just to serve the region, but what does Tumwater need.
Mhm.
I'm hearing an emphasis on transitional housing. If we were to look at siting or funding, it's like the emphasis is there. I heard that from Commissioner Whedon. Um, and then there was an agreement on looking at how do we incrementally work towards that? How do we break down these numbers and like work towards them? So in, 5-year increments, how could we build our way towards this or contribute financially to the region towards this? What are the different pathways to incrementally get there? Those are the three things I'm hearing. And that I didn't hear anybody say to eliminate any set of questions, particularly. These are the 5 set of questions that there's general interest in. Let me find the. Is that sounding like what you're?
Yeah,
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 I'm on page with that one.
yeah.
Okay. So I think we can go out to bid with these. I can create an RFP around this and go out to bid, and then we'll see how, if I can scope it and they can get it for everything we want for the dollar amount that we have.
Now, does this need to go to council for approval, or how does this work? I'm not, yeah, so
Yeah,
I've not been at this end of
I
it
think
before.
yeah, the director level is allowed to approve contracts up to $100,000, and so that we are
Okay,
able to not go to council for that. But we did
okay,
want council direction because all we had was a title, so we did want direction. So that's why we're coming here. We
okay,
did
so
speak
we
to
can
the mayor.
approve it
We
in,
did speak to the mayor. Oops, excuse
okay.
me.
Okay,
And then
I'm from Public Works. I have done general government. This
yeah,
is new to
we
me.
did speak
So,
with the mayor and the city
okay,
administrator, and then we came here. So we are getting council and mayor input.
okay, so our recommendation is to say we give you a thumbs up. We do pass a motion that we give you approval to do this as the general government committee, and then then it starts.
Yes.
Could
Okay,
I
that's the
make
action we need to
one
take.
more, one more comment? It would
Okay,
be to know how much, excuse me, how
right, how
much
much?
money that we as Tumwater, as a city, put into the Regional Housing Council. I think that for council members to know that that's where some of our housing dollars go. And that varies, that amount, since it's off of building permits.
Sharon, I think we need to build in a briefing for Councilmember Sullivan too, since she's our rep on the Regional Housing Council. We should probably do that prior to launching as well.
Is it seeker input as well?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
And then
individually.
under fiscal notes, should we have something as far as how this is, because I had a question, is like how much is this gonna cost and how is it funded under fiscal notes?
You mean how much is the consultant going to cost?
Correct, yeah, because they see that, but it's internally funded, but I was just curious when,
It sounded like we already had a budgeted amount, correct? And
Correct.
obviously, we don't want to throw out that number so that when we're
Correct.
going
That's
to and asking
exactly.
oh,
for,
I see. Okay, never
Yeah.
mind. Okay, good
Correct.
to know.
Yeah,
That's
no,
correct.
Okay, that's why it's not,
But
okay,
but Councilmember Swarthout, the details are in the budget that was approved, so you have a
okay,
general
got
idea.
it. Okay, all right, refreshing my brain here, thank you.
Good
I'm
question.
so used to Public Works where it's a dollar amount you guys,
Yeah.
so I'm coming up to speed here.
Yeah. This will be an RFP, so it will
Yeah.
be
Okay, all
I
right,
just think it's important that council understands that we do put money into housing
correct.
every year. Some
Mhm.
people forget that and don't know how much it is or how it's calculated. And that's what we put into RHC.
Commissioner Kathy, is that number quantified in terms of like that dollar amount equals X number of beds or X type of beds? Is it to have an equation like that, or is it just a contribution towards the regional?
It's just a contribution.
Okay. Okay, I'm hearing enough. I think we can go ahead and next step we'll meet with Councilmember Sullivan just to run this by her, and then we'll go out to do an RFP, and then we'll be reporting back to the GGC and the council in the fall.
And we're going to Councilmember Sullivan for what reason?
Next, didn't I just hear that from
Yeah,
Paul?
Yeah, from
I
Paul.
was
Yeah.
recommending it. I recommended
The
it because
briefing.
she's our representative on the Regional Housing Council now, and so I think
Yeah.
it'll be good for her to, at a minimum, be aware of what the plan is and what the
What the
scope is.
direction
that
is
if
that we're.
Yeah, so that if she represents us on the RHC, she can also be to speed on this effort.
Okay. Well, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay, let me get back to the top of the agenda here. All right. So, do we have any additional items to discuss? No. I can't see anybody right now. We need to go back to the there we go, the Brady Bunch. Okay. All right. Any other items for today? That was a good discussion. Thank you. Thank you for letting me get my GGC brain back again, Joan. So it's been a while.
Yes.
Public Works, I'm still on contracts and beaver deceiver. So anyway, all right. Well, with that, then we've gotten some good work done. We'll be meeting the next time we meet will be in March, and we'll be meeting at 11 o'clock. And so with that, then I will call the Wednesday, February 11th, 2026 General Government Committee meeting adjourned, and everybody enjoy the sunshine. Talk to you
Awesome.
later.
Thank you, everybody. Have a good day.
You too.